The biggest mistake you can make when founding a limited company and emigrating to Cyprus, I'll tell you about it in this video.
Hello and welcome. I'm Florian Wilk, Managing Director of CMC here in Larnaka and in Paphos, Cyprus. We support people who want to emigrate to Cyprus, guiding them through the process and taking care of all legal and tax matters here on the island. And in this video, I want to show you the biggest mistake you could possibly make if you're considering moving to Cyprus to take advantage of the tax benefits. Unfortunately, I frequently see this common mistake being made almost every single week by many expats I happen to meet in various cafes or other places elsewhere on this beautiful island. And I want to take this as an opportunity to really warn you so that you don't end up being one of those who make a very costly tax mistake. Because sometimes from my perspective, things seem so obvious, and of course we always advise on this as well, that you actually think everyone knows this. But I'm honestly shocked that I keep meeting people who have exactly the wrong tax setup. So to keep it quite brief and get straight to the crucial point, if you decide to move to Cyprus to fully take advantage of the beneficial non-dom status, the non-domicile status, that's simply not enough to get absolutely everything right from a comprehensive tax perspective. So if you spend 60 days a year here and then perhaps less than 183 days in Germany, Austria, or elsewhere, especially if you're coming from Germany, you need to make sure, and as I said, this should really go without saying, but apparently it doesn't for everyone, that you make a clean break in Germany. This means, first of all, that you no longer have a residence in Germany. You must not have a tax residence there anymore, which also means you can't have control over self-use property, because otherwise, with your worldwide income, you are fully liable for tax in Germany. You really have to be careful not to make this mistake. And the second point of connection is your habitual residence, meaning of course not to spend too much time in Germany. But what I'm particularly concerned with is the first point of connection. If you have a place to live, a residence in the tax sense in Germany, then the tax authorities say, we will tax you on your worldwide income. It doesn't matter if you spend 60 days in Cyprus or anywhere else in the world. You really have to be careful about that. And you shouldn't be under the illusion that the tax authorities in Germany don't care about this because there are other more important taxpayers or because they supposedly can't check it anyway or something like that. That's fundamentally the wrong approach. Instead, we always want to have a situation and a tax setup where you know that everything has been done 100% correctly at all times, so that any audit will naturally always end with a positive result for the taxpayer. That's why it's extremely important. Make sure that if you take the step to move to Cyprus, you really do give up your tax residence in Germany. If you're not ready for that, or if it's too soon, then please postpone it to the future because it makes no sense to apply for non-dom status and, in the worst case, lose valuable years of non-dom status since it's limited to 17 years only to stay in Germany for another 5 years before actually emigrating, in the sense of the German legislator. And the non-dom status really only benefits you if you are actually tax resident here in Cyprus and not somewhere else in the world. So please also question your tax setup. Always get a second or third opinion. And don't make the mistake of relying solely on Cypriot sources or Cypriot advisors because of course they are not familiar with the German Foreign Tax Act and specific German regulations. Well, how would they know? It's also not the job of a Cypriot advisor to advise you on German tax law. So really, please be careful not to make any mistakes there or sugarcoat things or interpret them the way you might like. Of course, we are happy to support you with your setup in Cyprus, your relocation to Cyprus, and all legal and tax matters, from immigration and non-dom status to company formation, ongoing accounting including payroll, VAT filings, and much more. Very, very gladly. But it only makes sense if you actually become a tax resident here in Cyprus and, of course, give up your place of residence in Germany. So please Always question things critically with Zap, and as I said, feel free to get a second or even third opinion. It never hurts, because I am sometimes truly shocked when people talk about this and use Zap in a way that is, to put it mildly, legally very questionable. It's really only a matter of time before the German tax authorities catch on and then, of course, tax you retroactively. Yes, and then, of course, you also have a criminal tax issue, not just a tax issue, because then it becomes a matter of tax evasion. So you should really think very carefully about what steps you take there, so to speak, how you proceed. I hope I was able to save you from making this big mistake. I also think it's always a very individual decision whether or not you want to emigrate. You can also just try living abroad for half a year or a year as a trial. That's all perfectly legitimate. You don't have to become a tax resident here right away. But if I take this step, if I apply for non-dom status here, if I want to take advantage of all the tax benefits, not just the 12.5% corporate tax, but also the tax-free dividend distributions and interest income as a non-dom, then of course I have to become a tax resident here, and I also have to make sure that everything is done correctly in my home country. By the way, we also provide checklists to ensure that you do not forget anything and that you are legally secure. If we can perhaps accompany you or at least give you tips on emigrating to Cyprus, then feel free to take advantage of a free and non-binding initial consultation. You will find a link below this video where you can sign up accordingly. As mentioned, the whole thing is completely free and non-binding, and we can gladly discuss your plans together and see whether it is even feasible and whether Cyprus is the right location. We are completely open even when it comes to other jurisdictions. And I am always happy when I can help people, entrepreneurs, make the right decision, even if in the end Cyprus is not the right choice or if emigrating is not an option at all. Sometimes it also makes sense to only conduct business on the island, but to keep your tax residency somewhere else entirely. Of course, this is absolutely possible and legitimate, as long as the substance requirements are observed. So, I want to sincerely thank you for your attention. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and also subscribe to my channel to regularly receive new information on the topics of emigration and internationalization, of course with a focus on Cyprus. So thank you very much and see you again very, very soon.